okay? Cool, thank you very much. Right, a couple of housekeeping points. Just to let you know, the bar is now closed and the bar staff have retired upstairs. At the end of the meeting, the bar will be open again, but obviously the bar is going to be closed during the course of the meeting. Okay. First of all, just wanted to say thank you very much. It's lovely to see a good turnout tonight. Obviously, we've piqued everybody's interest, and we will be going through the voting procedure later on. But just to run you through tonight, what we're going to do very shortly, Char's going to talk you through a presentation, and most of you have received hard copies of that presentation. We'll talk you through that. At the end of that, we'll open the floor to questions and answers. Anybody's got any points to raise or whatever they want to raise, they can raise it at that time. And then we'll have a vote, which will be a show of hands on the evening, just to let you know that because this is an EGM, it's not a majority vote. It has to be 75% of those present plus the proxy votes that have been made have to be in favour for the motion to be passed. Okay, so we have a simple choice tonight. We're putting the proposition to you. What I would say to you is, you voted us in as the MC. The MC are making this recommendation to you as members that we need to seriously look at the subscriptions for the club. And we'll cover that, as I say, in the presentation. The reason being, the club has spent an awful lot of money over the last few years to bring the course to where it is today. But where I come from, there is a saying, whereas you say you don't get out for now. And that's very much the case here, because we still have debts and we have to honour those debts. And you can see by the figures that have been given out to everybody, you can see that we're just scraping by at the moment. So we need to seriously look at it. Common theme of what people have said to me, certainly and to Shah and other members of the MC recently, has been about transparency and openness. We try to be as open as we possibly can. I think we've all received more information over this issue than we've ever done in the past, or previous MCs have done in the past. So we've nothing to hide. We're opening the books to you, basically. So you can investigate those all you can. Jeremy will be here to answer any questions on the accounting matter. Shah answering questions on the management of the club. And I'll try my best to hide in the back room. But seriously, I think, just listen to what we're saying. Shah's going to make his presentation. I would ask everybody to let him do his presentation. Don't interrupt during the course of the presentation. We will take questions afterwards. Please keep those questions civil. Please, we don't want this to get personal. It's nothing personal. We're just making a recommendation. At the end of the day, you vote for it or you don't. It's as simple as that. We're just trying to lay our cards on the table. Okay, is that okay?
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Evening everyone. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to go through now we've kind of sent out over the last couple of weeks. But I think it'll just help having a little bit of commentary alongside it. As James says, we'll open the floor after to take questions, because I obviously looked around the room and saw a lot of you looking through it already. I could hear a lot of comments about certain things in there, so bear with us and we'll get to that point. So just brief agenda on it. So we're going to discuss and provide clarity on the evolution of the club financials. That's both the income and the outgoings. It does change quite dramatically over the last few years. The rationale between the 10% and the 15% subscription rise, because that's what we're all here to discuss tonight. And the next steps going forward, kind of relaying what James has said about more transparency and being a lot more open with our membership on our financials. So we start off with the income. Now you'll notice on there we're looking at 2019. The reason for that is 2020 and 21, as you well know, weren't what we call normal years with the pandemic and COVID kind of messing everything up. So we look at 19 as probably the last normal year before the years we get into now. As you can see, there's been a draft rise in our income. Mainly that's driven by subscriptions, and subscriptions obviously rising, trying to battle the recent inflation, and that's why that's going up. We've also been a little bit more aggressive in the last couple of years with third-party bookings and bring fees, so that's part of that as well, and that's why we'll see it rising. But the thing we really need to discuss is the expenditure. Now, as you all know, inflation's been dramatically high over the last few years, but what we didn't realise is how much it was going to affect golf, and mainly the course upkeep. Now, I've got a few figures here. We haven't ever sent this out and been this open with the membership in regards to our expenses, because we've got management people in place who are obviously professionals and kind of deal with this. And as you can imagine, well, I can imagine you know how good that course has got over the last few years. But just to try and highlight a few areas that, and these aren't nice to do, these are essentials to keep that golf course to the standard it is right now. So chemicals, for example, leather jacket control has gone from £85 per hectare to £600 per hectare over a 3-year period. Now that's why you'll pay a lot of golf courses over the winter period now, and you'll notice a lot of weren't passed because courses just can't deal with it. They can't afford the dramatic prices that have gone up, so they're looking at other organic ways of dealing with it, or just manual labour of basically scraping them up, or keeping their fairways higher. So it's one of those things that we have no say in, that price is there. Same as fertilisers, so a bag of urea. Now urea mainly comes out of Ukraine, so you can imagine why that price has rocketed up. A bag was £17, is now £53. Machinery, an average greens mower was £25,000, we're now looking at circa around £75,000. Machinery parts have risen between 100 and 200%. Top dressing has gone from 36 per tonne to £57 per tonne. And utilities, we don't touch on that too much because you're looking at your own house bills, but to run this place is a considerable amount more, and we've effectively doubled in our utility bills. There's also some administrative cost changes since 2019. Now in 2020, the management of this golf club changed quite dramatically, and at the time it was sold to the membership that that'd be a saving, and at the time that was completely true. The issue with that is we have people on MC who are very willing to do full-time hours. Now that was never going to be sustainable. Whether that should have been seen at the time or not, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But the new MC coming in, that was soon realised that this club needs to be run by a manager, assistant manager, have the usual setup as you'd expect at any top golf club. And that's why we've gone back to where we are now, and that's why you will see the rise in the administrative costs in black and white. So it's clear that they both rise both income and outgoing. What we will say is we constantly review our prices. Now I've seen Matt in action speaking to suppliers, haggling down the best prices we can get, and we do exactly the same upstairs. We send all of our bills to a broker to look at every single line. We scrutinise every single line and get the best prices we can. But what we won't do is sacrifice the standards that we've got on that golf course to try and get the lower price. And as I said before, you'll see quite dramatically how much that's improved over recent years. And the next couple of slides are going to show that. So this is in 2015. I mean, it's only 8 years ago, and the images on the screen aren't very clear. They'll be clearer in the printouts that we gave out. But you'll notice a completely different sort of golf course to what you see out here now. I mean, fairways, greens, bunkers, you name it. It wasn't in a great state. We fast forward to 2023. Now don't get me wrong, I'm very aware those pictures in 2015 were taken on some crummy iPhone, and these are professional pictures we got taken in 2023. But it's meant to be dramatic. That's the difference we've got in an 8-year period. So when we do hear about comments about money being wasted, it can become quite frustrating when we look at that golf course out there now, and anyone that plays elsewhere, whether it's in the local area, who play top clubs in Surrey, we match the best of them in regards to services out there. So that's just a clear visual of what the investment brings, and of course we want to do that going forward, which is why we're discussing what we're discussing tonight. If we're unable to achieve it, obviously we have got to look at other avenues of how we bring that in. Now that's not a threat to the membership and say all of a sudden they're going to become like a pay and play, because clearly that's not going to happen. and the reason you've got management in place to stop that happening. But we will have to look at, if we don't raise these subscriptions, we'll have to look at other avenues, whether that's increasing membership heads, whether that's looking at things like the Wednesdays, the Fridays, and start opening up more times into visitors. And just to kind of put it into perspective, you've got clubs like Hayden, who allow society 7 days a week. You've got Liphook, who allow visitor society Sunday through to Thursdays. These are what you class as your top clubs, and they're obviously seeing ways that the membership subscriptions aren't getting them where they need to be, so they've got to look at other avenues. And we're no different if we want to keep doing what we're doing. The last thing is staff attraction and development. Now, I know the subject of hosting large events like England Golf, the rankings, I hear quite a lot how members don't like the rankings, don't care about the rankings. Fair enough, that's your opinion, and I've got my opinion on the rankings. I mean, I look at some of them sometimes, it blows my mind, the sort of clubs that are in the top 10. But the thing with the rankings is that I don't think a lot of members realise is it's a huge motivation for staff. And that's management staff, but mainly greenkeeping. So when you've got a team of greenkeepers who see that number get lower and lower, it's extremely motivating. It's something that they want to strive to get it better and better. And obviously there's ways that what we can do to achieve that, but I think it's important to realise that's part of the parcel. It's not just about we want to get it better and better just for our own egos. The next slide is basically, this is in both of the budgets. So you see this under exceptional items with the 10% and the 15%. But what we're saying is, unless we can raise it to the 15%, these are the sort of items that we're going to have to look at very carefully, and there's a 90% chance that we'll pull these back. The reason being is we're not comfortable going through a year with a sub £40,000 surplus with the cash sort of situation we're in at the moment. So to do these, not that they're nice to do items, but they're the sort of things that we would have to pull back on. So just to reiterate, I think I've said it in communications over the last couple of weeks, we've never once said that we can't survive with a 10% increase. That's not the case. We can certainly survive. We can certainly get by on a day-to-day basis, but what we can't do is do those drainage projects we might want to do, T-box projects we might want to do, and also the future-proofing. So at the moment, our cash flow is, I don't know how to put it lightly, not in a great state. And we soon need to start getting to a point where we're carrying over cash on a year-to-year basis to start building our pot to do things that are still outstanding and still need to be done. And that's basically what's on this slide. So we still have investments that need to happen, and again, these are not nice to do, these are as and when we can do them. So the water treatment plant at the moment is not fit for purpose. I don't know if many of you know, but we have a weekly empty now on a Friday morning of our septic tank being empty manually. Now, a club of this stature, that should not be happening. If that doesn't happen, we'll get to midweek and it'll be backing up. And I know that happened quite a lot last year. Obviously, it results in not particularly nice smells around the clubhouse, and for a club of this stature, I would say it should not be happening. Our machinery shed down at Greenkeepers Yards, I'll invite anyone, obviously with Matt's approval, to come down at 2:30 on an afternoon and just see the kind of state that the machinery shed gets in once every piece of machinery is parked. We have machinery parked around 2 to 3 inches away from each other. We have members of staff climbing over machinery to come out of that shed. Now, for a club of this stature, that should not be happening. I've just left a club which only can hope to be at the level of Stoneham, and we have a machinery shed probably double the size. We have an aging machinery fleet. At the moment, our sprayer, for an example, has shown some quite worrying signs, and it's in and out of the mechanics. It either goes one or two ways. It's going to be expensive mechanical repairs, or they're going to condemn it. To condemn a sprayer, you look at £90,000. And that's, again, it's not a nice to do purchase. That's we need to find £90,000, otherwise the Greens don't carry on as how you see them now. The clubhouse refurbishment is up for debate on that cost, because that would be obviously ripping this place apart and doing quite a lot of structural work. But that was based on a quote we got a few years ago, and obviously adding inflation onto that. So just to wrap it up, and I think James touched on it, what we have learned from these last couple of weeks is maybe we're not transparent enough in regards to our financials, and that's not for any other reason. We're not trying to hide anything. It's just something that maybe slipped by the wayside and we're not doing. So what we want to try and do is, as well as try and guide members to look at the minutes on a monthly basis, is also try and hold some open forums where myself, maybe Matt, some MC members come into the clubhouse for a few hours at a time, welcome you to come and chat to us, anything you want to do, anything you want to talk about. We'll obviously print off some material, we'll have it up in the clubhouse and we can have some really constructive conversations. What we're going to start trying to get is constructive feedback from the members. Now we've got 700 plus members of all different sorts of backgrounds, and we know there's lots of gems of information out there you can provide us, but I wouldn't say it always comes across in the most constructive manner, especially not in emails, which I've said to a lot of people over the last couple of weeks. It can get lost in translation, can be read in the wrong way, and it goes down one street only. What we have done over the last few weeks is had some really constructive conversations with either groups of members, individual members, myself and James, invited members in to come and have a chat, and so far they've been brilliant. Every time we come away, I've come away very happy with them, and I like to think the members have as well. So we'll try and carry on doing that in the future. But I try being as approachable as I can, so feel free to drop me a line, say you want some of my time, and I'll make time and we'll have a conversation. So what I'll do, I'll wrap up there and I'll pass back to James to open up the floor for questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Shah. Yeah, very thorough presentation, and thanks very much for all the effort you put into that. Right, now your turn. Anybody got anything to say? Will, if you'd like to make some.
Can I have the floor for a couple of minutes?
Best speaking voice.
Best speaking, please. The push one possible, and northern one. Right. I spent a considerable amount of time analysing our finances and calculating forecasts. I would urge you to vote along with me in supporting the proposal for the increase in the annual subscriptions. If we are to avoid cash flow difficulties, we need the extra £150,000 or so. Jeremy's been very helpful in providing more information to me than the rest of you have. However, I believe we have bigger, more significant issues than this, and I fear that we're applying a sticking plaster to problems which need intensive care. Last year I suspected we were running into cash flow difficulties, and I made the point to the committee, and presumably it was noted. So I'm not at all surprised that we're now looking to raise £150,000, and it was dropped out of the blue on us. So that didn't come as a surprise to me. A fact which probably misleads most members of the club on our financial well-being is that the accounts are prepared just after most of the annual subs have been received. So members just look at the balance sheet, see a great fat bank balance and think everything must be all right, without realising that that money's got to be expended during the year. A more accurate picture demonstrating that illiquidity will be shown if the accounts were produced prior to the subs being received. The accounts, as at last year, showed that our current liabilities exceeded our current assets by approximately £250,000, and the Treasurer's forecast for this year seemed to indicate that a similar position will pertain at the end of this financial year. It's not healthy to have liabilities exceeding assets by £250,000, or current assets and current liabilities. Even after this fundraising exercise, it is my belief that on the figures available to me, we may still be illiquid and heading for cash flow problems. This does not seem to have arisen solely due to the day-to-day expense of running the club, but from the various items of capital expenditure over recent years in the bid to become a top club. It seems to me there are three solutions to the problem: increasing income is one, reducing expenditure is another, and to receive a windfall is a third. To considerably compound our problem, in 2 or 3 years' time, over £600,000 has to be found to redeem the loans made by the members to pay for the irrigation system. This will take our negative asset position at that time to close on £750,000. I'm told that a reserve is being created by transferring funds to a separate account. But to my mind, this only serves to worsen the operational funds, but robbing Peter to pay Paul. Unless the club can generate a cash surplus of over £700,000 in the next 3 years, it will not be possible to repay these loans. And as for the suggestion that they can be refinanced, I would ask what institution would take over a commitment that the club itself can't service. I've heard comment that we do not have a problem as we have reserves of £500,000. These reserves are not liquid, but are made up of fixed assets, such as the course, the clubhouse and equipment, none of which can be sold piecemeal to repay any debts. The definition of solvency is the ability to meet debts when they fall due. I don't think we can meet ours without some serious action, so I would ask the question, are we insolvent? I think that the committee should consider that. At the EGM, we should be provided with a 5-year plan and financial forecast showing how the club will be put back on a sound footing, which will obviously include dealing with the irrigation members' loans. So that's a bit of a profit of doom, but I don't think all is well by any means, and I'm quite happy to work with Jeremy to discuss the figures in more depth. But I think we're liquid, I think we're insolvent, and I'm staggered to see we're looking at spending great capital amounts again.
Thanks very much, Will. Just to reiterate, we will not be spending those great capital amounts again unless we've got the money to pay for it. That's as simple as that. Anybody else got anything they'd like to say at all, please? Andy?
James, I'd just like to know what is the subscriptions in the club income and what is the can we break down what the members' subscription payments are and what we get from societies and
It's all broken down.
Oh, sorry, I've got another sheet been handed to me here.
So it is on there, but effectively this year we're looking at about £90,000 from societies and around £100,000 mark for visitor bookings, like just straight up green fees.
So it's what, 105,000, something like that, out of the
200,000. 200,000.
200,000. Wow.
230. That's the green fees and the society fees.
So we're running the club pretty close then.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, sir.
Having had a description of potential insolvency, but my understanding is that there is ongoing work with TJ that is part of developing what clearly is an essential reservoir resource. And my understanding is that at present the prediction is that that is likely to produce a surplus for the club. Do you have any current information about what your predictions are for that?
Yes, very good point. It's a good question. The brief answer is no. The reservoir project is about sustainability for the club and longevity of the club. Hopefully, fingers crossed, there will be a dividend from the project, but we can't say that at the moment. Matt and I are working, I have to say, daily on that, trying to get this over the line. We have a problem with a little creature called a dormouse over there, which is causing more problems than you can ever imagine. It's a protected species. And the way we deal with them and the way we're able to deal with the trees that we need to move to build the reservoir will define the cost of the whole project. I think Matt and I are fairly confident it will be cost neutral for the club with the fill, but until we can get the final figures over the line, I don't think we can make any promises. Obviously, we would hope there'd be some dividend there, but I think if there was a dividend, then to follow up on Will's comments, that would need to go to service the debts of the club.
But that dividend will only be a one-off.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mm.
And just to make the point, under a care licence you can't make a dividend.
No.
Not officially, no. Peter.
First, I'd like to say that the gentleman sat there at the front table now inherited most of this, because I think we all probably know. They didn't make it, they inherited it. The practice ground was going to provide us with surplus cash to alleviate any future financial problems. It didn't seem to. Nothing's been mentioned tonight about the Trapman fiasco that's gone on. Did we realise when we sold territory membership that it would have an adverse effect on our ongoing income? Also, the cost of the halfway house was never made clear in the accounts. The cost that gave us no income stream. All these sort of things need to be told to the membership. If they do, then you've got more chance of the membership going with you rather than getting into little 5 and 6 groups and moaning about it. I know that from fact, because I run a business that's employed 200 people, and you cannot afford just to run away with it and hope that everything's going to be all right. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Appreciate your comments, and you're absolutely right. We can't deny that, but what's happened has happened. We've got to try and lay our cards on the table. I think somebody mentioned the journey a little while ago. We need everybody here, all the members, to come on this journey with us. We're all in this together, so we do need to move forward as one. And that's the reason for this meeting. Whether the motion is carried tonight or not, nobody can be in any doubt now about where we're going and what we need to do. And Peter summed it up very well, I think.
I would just ask one question, and that is, what happens if members decide not to go ahead with an increase in the subscription?
Well, we carry on as we are. We'll continue. As Shah mentioned, we'll have to look at cost-cutting exercises. We'll look at more societies. It may be that we're bringing more new members. That might be another answer.
Not a happy prospect.
Not a happy prospect. It might be a mixture of all three. Anybody else?
And if we were to bring in more members and have more societies, what's to say that if we agree to the 15%, that won't happen anyway?
I don't think there's any plan to increase our society bookings, and certainly no plan to increase the membership beyond what the churn would be at the moment.
Can you give some clarity on that 15% increase? Is that like for year on year, or
No.
is it just, are we literally talking a one-off?
We're talking a one-off. What we're trying to establish is to get to the basic subscription price to a level that can sustain the club. No, it's not 15% year on year at all.
Roughly
roughly how many members leave the club each year? Do you have those figures in terms of what you're replaced with and the subscription fees and joining fees that come in on the back of that?
Yeah, so the last couple of years, the attrition levels have been really strong here. So we've looked at about 25 to 30 members leaving year on year, which from, as you've worked in golf for a while, it's incredibly low numbers, the attrition levels.
Laurie? Laurie Parsonage.
Sorry, no.
You're not going to tell them that you beat me at the Steel Cup, are you?
No, just lost. I don't know what's been said, obviously, before I came, but personally, I think we need to cut our cloth. So if we can't afford to do the new bits and pieces that everybody wants to, we put them on hold for 5 years until we're in a better position to do it. I was going to say something else, but I can't remember what it was. That's why I'm in the Steel Cup, yeah.
In the short bit, Laurie, you would have got that answer if you were here a little bit earlier for the presentation. That's not a dig. We're cutting what we can, but at the same time, to produce the level of the golf course we produce right now, which I'm sure most will agree is at a 5-star level, we can't cut the costs in that. We look at our costs on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, where we can, but at the moment, to produce what we've got, we can only do so much. There is certain projects that we spoke about earlier, which we'll all have to look to pull back. We know that if we can't put the money aside for it, but in the day-to-day stuff, there's not much wiggle room.
The thing I was going to say is instead of putting the subs up by 15%, why don't you put the subs up by 10% and put a levy, so that next year when you put it up by 10%, you're not putting it up by 10% on top of the 15, you're putting it up on 10% on top of the 10.
So you're basically still speaking about what we've been speaking about for the last 6 months before we come into this in regards to how we're going to go about it. If we were to do a levy, depending on the amount we would have had to do it, we still have to come to a vote. But the main thing we want to do is get our subscription levels to the level that this golf club deserves and to get by year. So going up to 15% puts us in a lot stronger position than if we were to do 10% and a one-off levy.
That's what I mean, it's going up 15% this year and then next year it'll be 10% on top of that 15%. So we are going to be paying more again next year.
There's nothing saying that we've never spoke about doing 10% on top of the 15% next year. Obviously inflation is going to be a big part of that. But in regards to doing a 10% and a levy, we'll be in the same position we are now, and the fact that it's a big bulk payment on top of what they paid last year. And if we had to go to a vote and we've been in the same position, we're going to be whatever comes out tonight.
Sorry, on that basis, can I just clarify, is the vote to change the constitution for just 1 year, or is it to permanently change the constitution to give the management committee access to 15% of the year?
It's the one-off 15%.
One-off.
Yeah, sorry, it's Kerry. I just want to pick up on Laurie's idea of the levy. I guess the benefit of that is that it helps raise cash which deals with the short-term liquidity problems without baking in that increase every year from here on in. So members are not looking at that annual commitment. It sounds like 5%, 100 quid, whatever it is tonight. It's forever. And I think to ask that of the members at a time when costs are in a bit of a funk. I know inflation is huge and significant, but prices do move around a lot. You hope that there's a calmer environment where things are more settled. But I think above all, we probably just need time as a golf club to work out exactly for all stakeholders what sort of club we want to be. So you have an opportunity with a levy to raise that cash, solve the immediate problem, but not continue that cost for all members from here on in. It does feel like we need to break the kind of cycle of how much it's costing to run and prepare the golf course. But that is a member conversation that's going to take longer than one night, I feel.
The fabric of the golf course, let's be honest, is beyond my wildest dreams. I've been here 20 years. There's members in the room that have been here far longer than me. So it's an outstanding course. We are proud to be members and to bring friends, family here, and we should say that. And, you know, Matt and the team, the MC, obviously Shai, you coming in, you know, everyone in this room, I'm sure, appreciates absolutely everything that you do. But yeah, I guess my point is, I'd like us to consider a levy because it buys us time to drive income in different ways without compromising member experience. It solves a short-term problem, and then we look to, again, back to Laurie's point, cut our cloth accordingly when we've got time to do that. But, you know, we've got to consider all stakeholders. The greenkeeping staff, massively important, and we can all see what difference that they've made. But, you know, where do the 700 members want this golf course to be? I think that's a longer consultation, a longer question to consider. And in the here and now, with families faced with the challenges that we've all got running households with where costs are, you know, don't underestimate the gravity of the question that you're asking people. It's not an extra 100 quid this year, it's compounded and it's baked into the base cost of membership from every year from here on in. Probably said enough now.
Right, I have sort of two questions. Firstly, a few years ago we voted to change the constitution so that it went up from 5% of the subscription fees could change to 10%. Inflation was nothing like it is now. That change doesn't seem to have fixed the problem. So by putting it up 15% this year and going forward 10% furthermore, that doesn't sound to me that it is necessarily the right solution, because we've already increased it once from 5% to 10%, and most years it has gone up the full 10%, despite inflation running at sort of 2 and 3%. So well, that's my understanding of it anyway. So I don't really see that increasing the subs by 15% is going to solve the issue. My second point is, as a members club, are we not all individually liable for the 650 grand's worth of debt?
Good question.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I'm not aware that the subs have gone up 10% in previous years. I think last year Lawrence was
6.8%.
6.8% last year. And I think it was even less than that the year before. So it certainly hasn't been going up 10% every year. So that answers that question. I don't know what was the other.
The early discount was removed, so that's an effective 5% as well, not commented on yet.
Yeah. As far as liability, we are all liable. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any escaping that. That's why we're saying, and that's what Will's comments were about, is the fact that we do owe, we've got to honour our debts as a club. Simple as. Lawrence?
Good evening all. As the past treasurer, I think I ought to say a few words in view of the comments that we've had so far this evening. In all years from 2017 to 2021, we made a surplus. We had no debts whatsoever, apart from hire purchase agreements on equipment, which was all built into the budgets. It is only the recent debt has come about as a very poor year in 2022 because of rampant energy costs. That was the first year we had a deficit. So Wilf is right that that deficit has given us a few issues. I've discussed these issues with Wilf at great length, and he still doesn't understand what I'm talking about. I'll just reiterate that the term membership money was used to improve this course. We removed trees, we moved bunkers, pathways, and then we launched the practice facility, which produced a substantial dividend. And we put a major part of that, or sorry, at least half of that, against fairway watering, which was, in my view, absolutely necessary to make the club what it is today. We were spending somewhere in the region of 30,000 a year, I think, Matt, wasn't it, on making and recovering the fairways, because we were unable to water them during the year. It was necessary to do fairway watering. To finance that, we had to borrow money. We were unable to borrow it from a third party because of the structure of the club, and therefore we borrowed it from our members. And that debt runs to 2026. I'm very confident that can be refinanced in the future, but provision has been made to build up a fund so that at least 50% of that could be repaid in 2026. Technically it's a liability, technically we're insolvent possibly, but solvency in my word is inability to pay one's bills as they become due. That's never been a problem. We have to be realistic as to where we are. By all means, we need to make sure we have sufficient money coming in. But and at this point, I must say, I have no idea what's in the budgets for this year. I can only see the position according to my budget that I drafted in August last year. So I'm not sure where the figures have gone from that. But all I would say is that you need to support the management committee and push this through. I'm not altogether sure about the exceptional items, but that's a matter they will have to debate. But please be assured that we've been making significant moves forward over the last 5 years to produce the wonderful golf course that we have achieved. The only debt we've got is the liability to our own members. So please bear that in mind.
Do you want that, Robbo?
That's all right, it's needed. Can I ask, has the club looked into getting rid of TrackMan? It's clearly over £20,000 a year
Yeah,
cost.
the answer is yes. The problem is it's on a 5-year contract, and it would cost us, we'd have to clear that contract to get rid of it. So it's going to cost us for 2 years anyway. So yes, I have investigated that and we have looked into it, so we're stuck.
And also, on the Kerry's point, other points about the levy, obviously term members, I take it, not affected by the rise. The levy would include all term members, therefore you get full subscription from all the people at the club rather than
Correct.
some.
Yeah. Have you got anything else? Okay, well, we'll put it to the vote then. Sorry? Yeah. Chris and Rob, you're going to do the counting for us. Please remember, if you've made your vote by proxy, you cannot vote twice, please.
All right, Rob, Chris? Yep.
Okay. All those in favour of the proposal, please raise your hand, please.
comfortable?
We're okay.
Okay, thank you. All those against, please. Okay, thank you very much. You give us a few minutes while we add up the numbers. Okay, everybody, quite be bear with me a moment. Obviously we're quicker than the general election in getting votes out. But the result is that the vote is not carried. So the motion is not carried. The results were 98 against and 84. The worrying thing is, out of the number of members that we've got, that's the only votes we've received, which is quite worrying. Okay, so that's it. The motion is not carried. End of the meeting, really, as far as there's anybody's got anything else they want to say.
Yeah? Go on.
Okay.
So, I'm a term member, and I don't know how many term members there are.
Get the mic shirt.
Okay, so I'm a term member, and I don't know how many term members there are. So it seems completely inequitable for me to vote for an increase that isn't going to have any effect on myself. So for those reasons I voted against the motion, but I would support a levy. I'll be happy to pay a levy. I think it's fairer because the whole membership would have to pay the levy. My thoughts.
Thank you very much. Anybody else, or can we call it a day?
James, could you?
Yes.
I just wonder if it is worth getting it can't be passed. It's just a sort of a bit of an exit poll. What's the feeling in the room about the levy? We've heard it talked about tonight. You know, does that give you a sense of what might help in the short term? Is it worth coming back with that? It feels like just yes or no leaves a load of questions unresolved.
And also members joining on the 1st of October would be included in that levy.
Okay. Well, we have to bring that up at the AGM.
But you could ask tonight.
Yeah, I'm saying that we could get a general feeling, and yeah, what's the general feeling? Put your hand up if you would agree to a levy. I think we're going down a very sticky road here. It's a good idea, but we'll have to. Yeah. Okay. Is there anybody got anything else? Okay, we'll call the meeting to a close, please. Sorry, Rog. What are you going to say?
Thank you, Frank.
All it was, quite simply, I understand it's £100 difference to the 15%. And if I couldn't, I mean, I'm not a wealthy man, but if I couldn't afford the £100, I couldn't afford to be a member of this club. So I find it, I'm sure you've heard it, I find it strange that this isn't the dearest club in the area, necessarily by a few quid. You've got Boundary Lakes down the road, which is far cheaper than this, and I noticed it wasn't quoted in our information, which I understand. But I stand by what I'm saying. If I could afford £100, I'd be off.
Fair comment. Right.
No,
Thank-
I'm back.
Yeah, nobody's clapping you, Roger. Okay, thank you very much indeed, everybody. Thank you for your time and your interest. Appreciate it.